It's time for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. Joining me on the show today are none other than my esteemed colleagues, sports and otherwise. We're going to start over here to my left, my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Richard. Bro, Rich, what's happening?
I'm good. I'm always honored to be with you and all of our listeners and all of our co-hosts and guests.
And then to his left, my right, but somebody else's oversight, is my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Double J, what you say?
An honor and a pleasure, as always, to be with these esteemed co-hosts and, of course, you, Jay.
All right, I appreciate that. I only gave you $20, man, so you can't, don't overdo it. And to his left and my right is none other than my cat, the former Grambling alum, played under Eddie Robinson, and also Browns and Ravens offensive lineman, my near and dearest cat daddy, as he like to say, Herman Harvey. Herm, what's up, man? Holla at us.
What's going on, Cat Daddy?
All right.
Hello to my co-hosts and to all the listeners.
And then last but not least, of course, we got Mr. Sometimes In, Sometimes Out. Put your left leg in, left leg out, double, goose, goose, duck, goose, rather. D Gully, D, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, everybody, hosts and guests? How you guys doing today?
Good.
They don't really like you, man. Okay. If you're out there, you're out and about, you want to give us a shout, we have a new number here. The number to call is area code 267. Excuse me, sorry about that, fellas. 267-687-0026. Once again, that number is area code 267-687-0026. All right, we start the show off today with no sports intended, but I thought this might be interesting to some of you all, especially you all who are familiar with Cleveland. Ohio Governor Mike Dewine says that he wants all of the gas tax for Ohio in July. Not some of it, all of it. Let me read you a little bit of something here. I grabbed the Plain Dealer, our local paper here in Cleveland, Ohio, which I haven't done here lately because, the paper has, of course, people doing and reading stuff online now, digitized and all that good stuff. So, you can pay $12,000 for a newspaper and you only get 2 pages. But anyway, I'm in the store the other day getting some coffee and I'm waiting for somebody, in line behind somebody else. And I happen to look over to my right and I see the headlines in the paper. I was like, whoa, what the heck? And this jumped out the page. Front page now. The highway funding gap is what it's called. It says DeWine wants all of gas tax in July, as I just mentioned. And the governor also proposes automatic yearly increases for inflation. Now, let me read this to you. I don't have my reading glasses on right now, but I'm going to try to do my best. Okay, bear with me. Governor Mike DeWine wants all of his requested 18 cents a gallon increase in the gasoline tax imposed, or, whatever, the tax imposed gas, whatever, July the 1st, with no phase in. And he wants to allow, the motor fuel tax to increase each year with inflation. Herm, we're going to start with you. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm all for improving the roads, and if you have to go by way of taxes, so be it. What I was, but to increase it by 18, I think it's 18 cents, right?
Right.
That seems to be pretty, sizable. But I, it's honestly, I wasn't even aware we had a 28 cents
yeah.
sales tax. So,
yeah.
So we're already paying, right? But
Yeah.
to increase it by 18 cents, it seems to be a little bit extreme. But you get what you pay for in lots of cases. So
Yeah, Brother Rich.
that's my take on it.
Yeah, Brother Rich. Hold
Yes,
on,
sir.
hold on 1 second. Let me. I'm throwing it over here to Brother Rich now. Brother Rich, you and I've had. I can't even count the conversations we've had in regards to. And I know it's everywhere in the United States of America, but we're not everywhere in the United States of America right now. We're talking about what's going on in Cleveland right now in this instance. So, the politics in this town have been putrid since I've been alive. So I'm going to say this. The taxpayers in this town, I had a real big issue when Mayor Frank Jackson, with no hesitation, when it was asked, it was on the ballot maybe a couple years ago now, maybe even not that long, where they were asking for a wage increase, to a minimum wage increase to $15. The mayor and all his constituents, or everybody else involved in that, they didn't hesitate to say no to it. But on the flip side, they took monies from the coffers that have been put in, of course, by the taxpayers to renovate Dan Gilbert's Q Arena. Where's the correlation in all of this? You keep gouging the little man, because that's what this gas tax is to me. You're gouging the little man. What say you, Bro Rich?
Well, Jay, I can't say it any better than what I call the founding fathers of this nation said. Taxation without representation equals tyranny. And what you have is one of the poorest states yet getting another, and these are money grabs. Exactly what you said. These are just money grabs. And what you do is you tax the person who has no choice but to pay. What are you going to say? You're not going to get gas in your car? So they put it on things like the essentials of life that make life move. And this is not taxing the rich now. They argue about whether or not to tax the rich. They debate that. And the president just said recently that, quote unquote, socialism is going to ruin the country. So any conversation that revolves around taxing the upper class, not the upper middle class, the upper class, that 1% of the 1%, but, no problem to tax the poor people. Why? Because the poor people are exactly that. Poor. They're poor collectively. They're poor in their ability to create any social change. And so people just, we get to pay the price.
Indeed. Double J, what you say?
Well, they're doing the same thing further north of you all in Michigan, and they're trying to raise it again with us. And I'm ready to go get a horse, and I'm not talking about a Mustang or a horse here. I'm talking literally, because that's about the state of our roads over here. And in addition to all these taxes, sounds like the more feasible option at this stage in the game.
Yeah, got you. And lastly, Gully, what would you say about all of this? Because you're in Columbus, so.
Yeah, what I see from Columbus and the way the roads are handled and the way transportation is handled, I'm really shocked in the way that we handle the roads. I mean, we don't have salt trucks. We don't see it, or if we do, we don't see them out. So when we talk about an extra 18 cents per gallon being added to our already high taxes on fuel costs, I'm not sure I'm ever going to see where the benefit of this tax is supposed to be applied. Now, I will say there is, I guess, two options. I guess there was proposal. One would be to tax at the pump, or the other would be to tax at sticker time. And I tell you, if I have to take this punishment one or two ways, I'd rather take it at the pump because, for example, in the case of people who have multiple vehicles, let's say 2 or 3 cars, for example, in myself situation with what I do outside of the shop report, I've got 2 vehicles, sometimes 3 vehicles at a time. I'm not going to pay $150 every year for vehicles that sit there rather than just taking this punishment at the pump, which I don't really like or appreciate, but I'd rather take it there.
Yeah, I mean, I got an issue with this whole mantra of make America great again, even though it's not being said. That's still the premise, so to speak. But yet and still, the capitalism, it's not, like Brother Rich, you said to me one time, it's not that government is bad. It's bad government. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's greedy capitalists. Because I don't think capitalism in and of itself is a bad thing, but it's the greedy capitalists. How are you talking about this is one of the richest nations? We print our own money, yada, yada. You got all this spiel, but it's what you're doing. You know, we talk about the roads and things of that nature. There are some cities here in Cleveland that are affluent. And if nothing else says that more than the homes that these people live in and the property taxes associated with them. You got folks living in neighborhoods with property taxes through the roof, but yet and still they got to dodge chuck holes when they get out their drive, pull out the driveway and all of that. So where's the money going? I know Demora, Russo, and this other guy here recently. I can't think of his name. You know what I mean? That the county. I can't think of the guy's name. Darn it! But they just raided his office a couple of days ago. You get what I'm trying to? The crooks in Cleveland is what I like to call them. But at the end of the day, man, you know, it's all, to me, it's all like a pimple. It's getting ready to pop. It's getting ready to pop real bad, I believe. All right, let's move on to, we got some NFL talk. And I'm sure you all have heard this by now. And Herm, we'll start with you on this one. Steelers GM Kevin Colbert clarifies Ben Roethlisberger is 52 kids under Ben Roethlisberger, so to speak. I personally thought, wow, it don't get no more asinine than that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. How is it that a guy like Roethlisberger, who also has a checkered past, if you would, or he got some check marks, if you would, how can he be? I mean, I get it. You know, the quarterback is the guy, you know, the face of the team and all that in most cases, especially in the NFL, whatever. I get it, all that. But I don't see how he gets to be. How is he separate from the rest of them guys? And now they grown men, regardless of whether they act like kids at times or whatever. They still a grown man. Herm, give me your thoughts on this, man. I'm just I'm outdone, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, when I heard that, I really didn't like it. I mean, but it feeds into, and you kind of understand why there's so much chaos in Pittsburgh. Because when a GM says it, then they've placed him on that pedestal. I mean, yes, he has 2 Super Bowl rings, but he didn't win it by himself. In fact,
right,
he was, he really wasn't the reason why they won those championships. But at the same time, whenever you hear a GM make comments like that, that just lets you know that he's treated differently than the other 52 players on the roster, and guys come out and say certain things, and he's allowed to bash them in the public. When recently Hines Ward said something, and we all know what type of player Hines Ward was,
right? And
he's questioning his leadership. So I don't think it's a coincidence when you have Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell doing and going through what they went through last year and what Antonio is going through now, to kind of understand the climate that's going on in Pittsburgh. So I don't like the comments at all.
Indeed. And Double J, we're going to throw it to you, but let me read something right quick and then get your response on that. This is Mr. Colbert. He, I guess Friday he addressed it. He said, in referencing to our younger players, what I'm referencing is Ben is the only player who has ever won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was referencing the younger players on our team and their lack of experience in the Super Bowl winning environment. And Ben is the only one who can say he's done that. I think there's tremendous value in that. Does that mean we have a bunch of juveniles or anything like that? No, of course not. We've got some really good veteran players like a Cam Hayward or a Marquise Pouncey who are unquestionable leaders as well. But they are still not the Super Bowl winning type of player that Ben Roethlisberger is, which I think just about as asinine a comment as it gets. And that's why he is and will continue to be the unquestioned leader of this team. And I still think it will be valuable for all of our players to recognize that. And then, of course, Antonio Brown has cited Roethlisberger's leadership style in part for why he is seeking a new team to play for. Go ahead, Double J, what you say?
Yeah, I mean, the more he speaks, the worse he looks.
And you're referencing, you're talking about the GM, of course, Mr. Colbert.
Absolutely.
Okay, gotcha.
We all know Roethlisberger's past, and again, that's off the field, and we'll leave that where it is. But for him to somewhat, as we were just stating, put him on a pedestal is one thing, and it's kind of an unwritten rule amongst the quarterback position throughout the league. However, I can't tell you, and I'm sure we can count using one hand, how many other general managers are publicly going out saying that raving about their quarterback and saying that he's the leader, and that just the way, the light that he's putting on the rest of that team is not the Pittsburgh of the past. They used to be very quiet and used to handle everything, as Mike Tomlin would say, in-house. Right. And the more that, I don't know if you want to attribute it to Le'Veon Bell or to Antonio Brown, or I don't know if it's as simple as just one thing, but they are very out of character and unfamiliar territory, and it's looking like they could end up, having some solid issues stemming from this for the next few years to come, because, again, Ben's not getting younger here.
Yeah. Gully, what did you say about all of this? Good stuff, too, though, Jay.
Well, that one comment sort of shows how truly fractured that organization would be. I mean, the idea that you saying that Ben Roethlisberger is the one separating himself, not only in terms of being a leader, but like in terms of manhood and childhood. Like, you can't do that. You can't disrespect players. That's why I find it to be disrespectful. You can't disrespect players in that way, especially given all of the personal turmoil that they had to manage under Ben Roethlisberger, through things that he had went on, things that went on in his career when he still had that Steelers jersey on. Remember, he was once upon a time lifted and carried through a Super Bowl win in that first Super Bowl that he has. So has given, no matter what accolades you may have for him or you may give for him, on the field, he's not above the rest of those guys on the field, especially his linemen. And that psyche that permeates, that was delivered, that was transferred by that comment, tells you where the organizations place their values, and tells you exactly how fractured things are. And Le'Veon, I guess, in my opinion, I think the Steelers are lucky that only Le'Veon and only Antonio Brown feel so disenchanted by the franchise that they would want to leave. I'm surprised it hasn't affected everywhere else.
Yeah, I say that on any level, especially at the lower level here. I deal with that at the gig. You got supervisors who they feel like too title oriented. They feel like because they supervisors, that give them the right to look down their nose at you or talk to you any old kind of way. Well, before you got that title and before I ever came here, I then lived a few years. You get what I'm trying to tell you? And especially if I don't come at you that way, then, and I've had a couple run-ins, and I try not to do that kind of stuff. But, a man is going to be a man. He's supposed to anyway. I done had to tell a couple of them, look here, I don't come here to treat others the way I would want to be treated. I treat others the way I expect to be treated. And if we're going to have an issue, then I'm not about to deal with you. I don't care what your title is. No disrespect, but then maybe disrespect. You get what I'm saying? Because don't make me have to not have no respect for you or the title, so to speak. You know what I mean? We're not going to do that. I get it. You the supervisor, and I'm not one of them ones. I'm not cantankerous, just because. I'm going to do what I got to do because of who I am, before I ever came in these doors. You know what I mean? But no, you're not going to just talk to me in any kind of way. Brother Rich, it's on you. What say you, about this Ben Roethlisberger and GM's comments and all that good stuff?
I think I certainly agree with everything everyone has said thus far. I'll only encapsulate it by saying this. It appears to me that both Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell were right. They had the standing to say what they said, and Antonio Brown said it like this, that Ben Roethlisberger is not held accountable. And we can see from those comments that they obviously do not hold him accountable for anything. So one cannot be surprised that in fact and indeed this is what we do see, and this is what takes place with that. So I'm not surprised in any measure. Indeed.
All right. Well, that's good stuff, fellas. We're going to slide on over to some NCAA, and I know this is the one you all have been waiting on the NCAA basketball in particular. Because when I got to researching for this thing today, man, I'm telling you, oh boy, it was a whole bunch of stuff I could have picked out. But I chose these few, like they say with the candies we used to eat some now and save some for later. Zion Williamson. We all saw him blow out his shoe, right? Yeah, no, maybe.
Yes, sir.
And he injured his knee in the
Yes.
process. And, of course, Nike gasps in horror. But let me say this. Y'all going to be like, what? Where'd that come from? You know, when I'm watching, hoop is my thing. When I'm watching the game, because I watched that game. I'm watching the game, and I'm not saying what happened to him was a result of, but it's an issue. What he did, I have an issue with, and it's an issue me and my son keep going back and forth about constantly since he been playing ball. And even especially when he be playing 2K, because he's into the whole 2K thing. I said, look, man, I know you don't like me saying it the way I say it because you think, oh, here come Dad again. He ain't going to stop. I'm not. I can't help it. I said, but every time these dudes get the ball, the first thing that they do is they just go do it. They want to dribble first. Okay? Real talk. When he went to put the ball down, he didn't read the defense first. Because if you're reading the defense first, you'll see that the defender really was already in a position to cut him off, which made him, Zion, stop suddenly and do the split, which led to the blowout and the knee injury. Believe it or not. If you go back and look at it, before he put the ball on the floor, you'll see that he really had he been reading the defense, and based off what's going on in front of him, he had no reason to put the ball on the floor first. I say this to my son all the time. If you're the primary ball handler, and as soon as you turn to go up court, it doesn't matter, you don't even have to be going up court. It's just like crossing the street. Y'all's mamas told y'all, like my mama told me, when you crossing the street, you do what? You look first.
Look both sides.
You look first. Excuse me. These offensive players now, everybody's so wowed by the triple doubles and the stats being put up. I see the game from a latent standpoint. Okay? All that stuff is nice to talk about, but I'm looking to see, do you really understand what am I doing and why am I doing it? He shouldn't have never put the ball down first, to tell you the truth. I said that to a couple guys. Oh, man, you hating. I'm not saying that what happened to him shouldn't be discussed and be talked about, because maybe I'm glad he wasn't seriously hurt. But this opened up the door for this conversation to continue and maybe, you know what I'm saying, go to another level, so to speak. You know, what happened and how the NCAA sees him and, you know, college players of his ilk and so on and so forth. But just from a basketball standpoint, he shouldn't have never went to put the ball down first. I said, Khalil, my son, I said, you always get the ball and you dribble. I said, how about get the ball, survey. Sometimes you can make a pass. Sometimes you ain't even got to put the ball on the floor first in order to get a score or in order to get out of it what you're trying to get out of it. But you got to see it first. We used to have a drill, and I'll let you all weigh in after that, after I say this, called the 2 dribble drill. Starting at the 3-point line, you got to do 2 dribbles, and then I don't care. The coach, you say, I don't care what it is. 2 dribbles and then do something. Whether it's pass left, pass right, pass into the middle, pass whatever. Or off the drive, whatever. But you got to, 2 dribbles, you got to be doing something. Man, you look at these dudes, especially at the NBA level. It's 35 dribbles. Everybody's trying to blow past somebody. We didn't have this conversation before. But at the end of the day, that's what I saw first. Now let's talk about the blowout and the knee injury. It says college basketball, well, Nike, let me just say, Nike's shares supposedly or allegedly went down 2% after this incident with Zion. So, Herm, I'm going to kick it to you first. When you saw the play, what did you say to yourself?
Well, my initial reaction was, it was unbelievable. I hadn't seen anything take place like that. The mere fact that the stock went down, that's typical. That's society. We overreact because it came right back up the next day.
Yeah.
But it came right back up. But as far as the kid, and to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying before, this actually makes him more money. He actually becomes, because I'm not necessarily sure if he's going to play again. I would play if I were him, but at the same time, I'm not in his position.
Right.
So he actually stands to gain a great deal. But as far as what you were saying and him immediately reacting, that's what happens when you are a man-child, so to speak.
Got you.
He's physically gifted. He's he's much better than all the other players in his competition, so he can get away with a lot.
Right.
But that actually stunts your growth. So if you're not doing the things like you mentioned before, it could actually hurt him down the road.
Hello.
When he's in the NBA playing against, better competition. So maybe, if he's listening to the show, he can start working on those things you mentioned before.
Gully, go ahead. What you got to say?
Well, the injury sort of underscores the point of how it greatly affects Zion's career, but it doesn't stop the money train that profited, if you will, during this entire time. See, if I'm not mistaken, they said, ticket prices of the game were in the hundreds, even the thousands, much more, a tremendous markup over maybe, let's say, a Cleveland State basketball game, and lots of celebrities, lots of notoriety, which brought lots of money and TV, and a lot of income was generated by it. And none of that income could truthfully, honestly be given to Zion because he's a quote unquote student athlete, which is a farce. And now his career could be, hopefully it's a minor injury, but it is definitely, certainly jeopardized by it because he hadn't had an injury beforehand. So we don't know how this affects him. Hopefully it's minor. It just basically says that, this system is a joke and they have no real answers. And I don't really like I don't really understand the response of the NBA in response to his injury by immediately making a move to lower the draft age. But I think maybe at another time I can elaborate on that why.
Yeah. Before I get to you, Double J and Brother Rich, let me say this. The hypocrisy surrounding NCAA, I don't even know why they even are a governing body. I think schools should police themselves, so to speak. The NCAA needs to be done away with. But when it comes to Nike and we talk about dollars and things of that and college athletes being paid and should they get paid, because that was one of the biggest questions after this happened. And my thing was, well, first of all, the fact that somebody paid $2,600, I believe, for a ticket just highlights the hypocrisy in that here it is, the NCAA, Nike, all of these other folks are making dollars because whoever paid that amount of money for that ticket, they didn't come to see Mike Krzyzewski or Duke. They came to see him. You know what I mean? And R.J. Barrett's and the Cam Reddishes and so on and so forth. So while everybody else is raking in the dollars, so to speak, I have to ask, who's raking who? Or who's raking in for Zion and R.J. Barrett and folks and whatnot? It's high time that these dudes, they have to get something. Because this dude's, real talk, his career could have been over. We already hearing terms and words like load management, you understand what I'm saying, and injuries, and Markelle Fultz, for instance. He got some kind of shoulder injury. I looked it up, the term that they use, and I even talked to the doctors who did my surgeries, and they was like, what happened? You sure you don't need no medication? Or did you take your medication? Because what are you talking about? You know what I mean? They're coming up with these terms and words for guys getting hurt. He got a disjunctificated shoulder of the dislocated metatarsal third down from the left. Man, stop it. The boy just is bad, okay? Michael Kidd Gilchrist bad when it comes to this shot. But anyway, Brother Rich, I'm going to let you go ahead and weigh in on this whole price of admission or the price of that ticket and the hypocrisy and whether college athletes should be paid, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Go ahead.
I don't want to sound like a broken record on this.
By all means.
I am like you, very disgusted with the hypocrisy of the NC2A. I've been disgusted with it for quite some time. The sheer nakedness of the hypocrisy is manifest when a young man like that, like D. Gully just articulated to us, the sheer nakedness of the hypocrisy is on full display now for the world to see. When a young man like that, who, as Herm was saying to us, he's supremely talented. He doesn't have to do anything. That's the gift he has that needs to be cultivated and developed. And now, here's what we do. We send him out to sharecrop at college, right? That's what he's doing. He's sharecropping. And the very nature of sharecropping is you bring in the crop, and they tell you you're going to get a share, but you never seem to make enough to get a share. So here's what they tell him his share is. Your share is an education. Your share is that we give you a nice little dorm room to be in. Your share is you get to have a lot of girlfriends on campus, right? That's your share, and you're supposed to be happy with that. And if you complain about that, you are an ungrateful wretch. You're wrong to do that. But now, mind you, he's only wearing Nikes because Duke has a $10 million contract with Nike. That Krzyzewski has a Nike contract, and the Duke University has a Nike contract, and the institution has relationships with Nike. So this young man gets to put on some shoes, and yeah, he made a move that technically, but I don't care what technical move you can make. Your sneakers are not supposed to do that.
No question. I'm with you.
No question. When we were playing on the playground
in Chuck Taylor's,
in our Chuck Taylor's, they didn't do that. And when they did that, they only did that because you knew you had been playing them for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, and you literally wore them out. Those guys put on brand new shoes every game. So again, it's just manifesting the hypocrisy of it all, and it's going to continue to be made manifest.
Yeah, good stuff indeed. Joey J, Double J, excuse me, what you say?
I'm going to follow suit with everyone here, and I'll keep it brief. Just ultimately, yes, we're at a stage in the game here where things have to change. The beauty of this, event taking place and the outcry from, retired as well as so former and current NBA stars, all telling him that same thing that is so frowned upon, again, by that hierarchy, which is to sit your behind down because you've proven enough that you're ready for the next level and prepare for the next steps. But again, Coach K is now claiming that he will be back at Duke to play at some point again before the season's end. And, that benefits nobody but the program of Duke University and the NCAA as an entity and not Zion Williamson.
Gotcha.
And that's why I personally have a problem with it, because if that injury were bad enough and he lost out on millions of dollars, nobody was going to put that money into his pocket for him. That is not a win-win. That is a win-lose. I would be sitting regardless of, who's upset with me, because those people, nobody will feed you like you will feed yourself. So
that's right. Yeah, no, I like that. I really appreciate that last bit of statement you just made. That's right. Nobody going to feed you like you feed yourself. Me personally, I wouldn't play either. Matter of fact, if I were his parents, I'd be like, oh, no. Sit this one out. And I would not go to the media and be like, my son Zion is going to sit this one out. He ain't playing for Duke no more. I don't need to do all of that. I'm talking to my son. When he come over for Thanksgiving or beforehand or, when kids is in college, they always seem to, they couldn't wait to get out the house. Now they always will be always back at the house. But while we over eating bologna sandwiches, I'm be like, son, no, where you going? No, you ain't going. No, yeah, you can go to class and all that good, but you ain't playing for them. No, because you're a top five. Because we hear the term all the time. It's a business. You see what I'm saying? But like Brother Richard was just alluding to, when it comes to who's getting what monies and so on and so forth, I like to use the term disproportionate. If it's a business, then why is it when I get to exercise this end of it on my end is why I got to be disproportionate to how you get to go about doing it if it's a business, and if that makes any sense. No, if it's a business, I've used this example a million times, and it didn't dawn on me till later on in life. When you fill out a job application, if you're really reading it, because most people don't, and that's probably why I didn't see it before, because I didn't. But if you really read it, you are an at-will employee. And basically, a job application is a contract. And when you fill out an application, it says that, in summation, if you would, the company can terminate you at will whenever they feel like it. Now, they'll come up with some political reason as to why, you know what I mean? But they can let you go. So then why is it incumbent upon me? If I decide to terminate the contract early, I got to give the next folks a 2-week notice. Disproportionate, asinine, bass backwards. No. If it is what it say it is, at will, then fair exchange ain't no robbery. All right, let's move on to some NBA action. The Lakers played the Pelicans a couple nights ago. And without Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Who else? Who could I? That's for the Lakers side. Who could say for the Pelicans? The Pelicans. Oh, without Chris Paul, without Drazen Petrovic, without Mark Price, Larry Nance, you all get Ron Harper. You all give it. The Pelicans beat the Lakers. SB Nation says it's time to panic about LeBron James's team. Gully, what do you say?
There's, I guess so. If you are expecting LeBron James to work his same miracle magic, I think the idea of it is I'm not panicking because I've seen this already. This is exactly what I expected it to happen for a LeBron James led team.
Hold up.
Yeah.
You saying ultimately, before you go any further, a leopard don't change his spots? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, a leopard
Okay,
don't change.
go
his
ahead,
spots,
continue.
You know, you panic now because I guess you expected to see the same miracle. I mean, who's going to sign up for that at this point? Who's going to sign up to volunteer to be the helpmeet to a LeBron James-led team that would be scapegoated when that team fails to meet certain expectations? If they don't make the playoffs, it's not going to be LeBron James's fault. If they do make the playoffs, he will have carried these guys who seemingly don't know how to play basketball unless they're with LeBron James, even though they won 30 games last year with Luke Walton, who, by the way, as a sidebar, I guess he last night was missed the team bus, which is kind of unfortunate, which is a bad look, but it's sort of telling. So if you want to panic, panic for the fact that you again expected something to happen that you should have already seen in terms of LeBron James and how he's characterized as an athlete on his team. I'm not panicking. I didn't expect him to make the playoffs with this roster. I expect him to eventually get the help that he needs eventually. And I still don't think that no matter what type of help he gets, he'll beat the Golden State Warriors. So it's all part and parcel for me.
Hold on. Wait a minute. You said he'll beat the Golden State Warriors.
No, I still don't think he will, even with the help that he needs.
Gotcha.
Like, to me, nothing about what LeBron James has done as a Laker tells me that he's going to win a title and beat that formidable team. Nothing that tells me about this move to Los Angeles tells me it was about his basketball legacy, and that's okay. I think that's okay. I mean, he is more than just a basketball player. He's an athlete. He is a businessman, this, that, and the third. But don't confuse the two. Him going to the Lakers was really about him and his post-basketball legacy. It had nothing to do with him fitting into the him wanting to be a part of the Lakers' historic trademark, if you will. You know, it wasn't like Shaq going to the Lakers or Kobe becoming a Laker or Wilt going to the Lakers or Kareem or Magic or so on and so forth. It was nothing about that. It was about LeBron James's legacy. And I think we are still looking at LeBron James being a Laker as in the same way as Shaq going to the Lakers. No, it was about after that. All the films and the media and all the other businesses he has. That's what it's about. So I'm not panicking. This is what I expected.
Yeah. I personally think Paul George would have been better in a Lakers uniform with this group that they have, and if they were talking about taking that next step, actually, in reality, winning this year, than is the case with the James. And it had nothing to do with my like or dislike and all of that. We're just talking straight up facts here. Brother Rich, go ahead. What you say?
I told you I had some interesting conversations this past weekend. And I actually had a continuation of it, one element of it today. And one of the things that, with respect to LeBron is an enigma. In one respect, we honor and respect him for more of what he does off the basketball court.
True.
And he certainly has been exemplary in his own personal comportment, in his manifestation of his family life and what we're looking at. That's been exemplary. And so we have to commend that. We have to commend what he's done with his boys, his friends, his team, his crew that he developed and has put on in words. Here's the element of basketball that more people are going to be more honest about now. With respect to basketball, there are those of us who always understood from day one that LeBron coming to the Lakers was more like Karl Malone coming to the Lakers. So I thought that how Gully broke it down, that it's not like when Kobe came to the he came to the Lakers he wants to live in LA, and he came to the Lakers really just to end it out and get into start up and be where he needed to be for what he's really doing off the court. Having said that, I, like Gully, never anticipated that the Lakers were going to be any threat to any team at any time. And I'll go so far as to say I do not believe that LeBron will win any more rings, and I think this is why we saw the desperation with trying to get AD before the trading deadline, because he realizes that time is always the winner. And he realizes that time is on him as it relates to that element of his life, playing basketball at the highest height. And he's looking around. He sees Giannis. He sees the young up-and-coming stars that are here and are grabbing. He sees what's the young man in Dallas?
Luka Doncic.
And then Yes, he sees that these young men are coming up all around, and these boys can ball. So, for me, I'm like D. Gully. I never thought he was going to do much.
Yeah, indeed. Double J, what you say?
Yeah, I mean, there's a wide range of takes that directions we can go with this. But, I thought his quote was interesting because it seemed like you could almost make the case about him.
That's what I was going to say next, his quote. Yeah. Go ahead, finish.
And so, again, the difficulty with this is, of course, we know things didn't go quite according to plan, despite his initial, perception of coming to LA and struggling through the first year. And then maybe they exceeded the expectations, and that's why the trade was pushed in the manner that it was. However, there's such a disconnect, I feel, internally there between himself and the teammates and the coaching staff that we're somewhat watching the implosion, which oftentimes LeBron himself is the last one standing there, or he's the one who presses the button and then walks away, very Jack Bauer-esque. So the concern that I have here is, he's under the magnifying glass, unlike any of the previous destinations that he's chosen. I mean, sure, he was always in the spotlight, but this is LA. This is different. And so what happens next? Do the Lakers have to reevaluate every, piece of talent that they have in addition to a potential draft pick? Essentially there's going to be a large amount of fallout from this, from what happens today through the remainder of the regular season.
Ah, indeed. Herm, what about you, man?
I'm not shocked with what's taking place.
Yeah.
I think that it was there was a desperate attempt to try and land at AD and Davis from the Pelicans, and that didn't pan out. But he's always had an opportunity to fall back on, well, the team's too young, so that's why we didn't win, or we need to land a few more free agents. But I think whenever you have a situation, it's similar to Ben Roethlisberger. Whenever the emphasis is placed on one person, when it's too much and it's not, the emphasis is placed on team, you end up with these situations. LeBron is an unbelievable talent, but I think if the emphasis was placed more so on team, he would have more championships.
More to show for it, right? Exactly.
Yeah, he would have more championships. I mean, when you look at Golden State, I mean, even when they say that's a manufactured team, it's a dream team, it's still not an emphasis on individual. It's more so team.
Got you.
So I think, he's getting basically, when he was in Cleveland, we saw it, he went to Miami. I think that, that was more so a team as opposed to individuals. So yeah, it is what it is, my friends.
Man, good stuff, fellas. Real good stuff. All right, last on the docket for today. Once again, we touch base with the NFL. And this is everybody's favorite topic, including my man up north, the Cleveland Browns. In particular, I want to discuss Freddie Kitchens, his new coaching staff. And I like to call it cooks in the kitchen. Now check this out. Me personally, and Herm, we're going to start with you on this one. Me personally, when I saw the list of hires for Kitchens, I mean, I've heard some of the names, but I wasn't really familiar with them like you would have had a Bruce Arians come to Cleveland or, you know, a Tony Dungy or somebody. You know, you kind of know their track record. You know what I'm saying? But some of these guys, I'm looking at, okay, I know this guy, but I heard his name before. But, I mean, is he really, you know, can he really make a difference? And I will say, you know, that a head coach is only as good as the staff around him, you know, his coordinators and so on and so forth. Because it's not just the product on the field, you know, to me. It's everybody in the building got to be on the same page in order for an organization to be successful. We won't talk about the Patriots because Robert Kraft gave me a yellow envelope and he told me, Jay, chill out on me today. Got you. I got you, RK. But in taking a look at kitchen staff, Herm, let me ask you this first before I get to saying who's who. How important is it? You know, you haven't played with the Browns. For those who don't know or don't recall, it's 1994 was the season with Belichick, the season before they moved, of course. And, you know, like I mentioned, you played with the Ravens, you know, with did you play with, what's the Hall of Famer? Oh, my gosh. Ogden? Did you play with Ogden as well?
I did.
Oh, okay,
I
good
did.
deal.
Ogden and Ray Lewis were rookies in our first year there.
Oh, wow, okay. I mean, how important is that, having the staff that's, you know, and everybody on that same page for a head coach and the success of, or to the detriment of?
It's extremely important. I think whenever you put together a staff, you have to have guys that are following your lead, aren't going to jump ship, you know, whenever things go bad, and you are delivering the same and consistent message. And again, they have to see you as the head guy and not want to, you know, there's no envy and want to say, you know, if I were the man, you know, I'd be making these moves. I mean, you really have to be all going in the same direction. Good
deal. Okay, fellas, I'm getting ready to list the names of the players and give you a little brief, you know, bio or, you know, make mention of what it is they do and so on and so forth, how long they've been in the NFL, things of that nature. Up first is Steve Wilks. And it says that Steve spent a good chunk of his early coaching career in the college ranks before becoming the defensive backs coach of the Chicago Bears in 2006. He held that job for a couple years, and then he went to the San Diego Chargers, which are now the L.A. Chargers or Alameda County Chargers. I don't know. Take your pick, because they might be moving to London here next week. He followed Ron Rivera to the Carolina Panthers in 2012 as the defensive backs coach before he was promoted to assistant head coach in 2015. He became the defensive coordinator in 2017 of the Panthers before he was named head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. And there's still some fallout and talk about how he got let go after 1 year. So the Panthers defense was ranked number 7 in the NFL in 2017 under Wilks. They only allowed 20.4 points per game and ranked number 11th in that category. Oh, I'm sorry, they were ranked number 7 in 17. And they ranked, okay, and this was in 18 that they averaged 20.4 points or whatnot. Brother Rich, I'm asking you, is he, based off his short resume that I read here, do you think he's the answer for defensive coordinator for the Browns? Seeing how them your boys.
The Browns, but they're absolutely dog pound for life. The Browns are going to be good no matter who is in those positions. Where it's our time, the Browns are going to be good. And I like the new blood, to be honest with you. I like that we have heard some of these names before. I like that they're not. Let's see what they do. I'm more interested, for me, in who are the primary position coaches and who is the primary head coach. And with the management that we have in office now, we have a great quarterback. We're set now. We just picked up a running back. So with respect to the positions that are being offered, I'm only interested, quite frankly, in seeing that African-American coaches are given an opportunity and that the position coaches, that they are able to be brought up through the ranks. Nevertheless, with the new blood, I like that. I like the new blood.
Okay, I got you. Man, you sounded just like a doggone fan. I get it. Double J, you more familiar With Steve, oh wow, he chomping at the bit. All right, well just go ahead. What you got? What you got to say about Steve Wilkes? Is he the guy?
This guy, I'm going to give you a couple names here.
Okay.
Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs.
Oh my. Okay.
That man was in charge of them.
Okay.
Arguably one of that was the Super Bowl Bears that ultimately, of course, fell to Peyton Manning. But again, arguably one of the best, the greatest defenses we've ever seen in the game. Arguably top 5, in my opinion, top 2. And he was in charge of, he played a role in that.
Mm-hmm.
And your question is he going to be a good fit in Cleveland?
Well, I don't know the guy. I just heard about him here recently. That's why I said I don't know. You all are the authorities. I'm just the guy holding the door open for you. That's all. Yeah, I asked the question.
There's a reason that Ron Rivera said, "You're coming with me."
Yeah, I got you. Got you. Yeah, I got you. Gully, what say you?
Yeah,
Gully?
I'm looking at his resume. We know where he's been. Defenses with him on the staff have been formidable. And ever since he's been in the league, Double J already alluded to, the fact that he was on the Chicago Bears coaching staff in their Super Bowl run. He spent time in the Panthers organization. Remember, he was a DB coach with the Panthers. So you remember their defensive back and their secondary was pretty phenomenal during that time. So one of the things about the Browns is in the secondary, there have been questions. Certainly those questions should have the potential to be answered with a guy with a mind like Steve Wilkes. So I'm looking for things to only get better on the secondary end because you have a defensive coordinator who specializes in that. And everything else in terms of the Browns, they show potential elsewhere, with the linebacker and lineman corps. So I'm really, really liking this pickup.
Yeah, Herm, do you think that because the Browns, I don't think they were terrible based off the eye test, on defense. I just felt like they maybe needed a few more pieces, and they probably still do. But, do you see them going from do you see a vast improvement under Steve Wilkes? I mean, like an immediate improvement, so to speak, under Steve Wilkes with what they have. And in addition to, if they add some guys through the draft or whatnot, you know what I mean? That learning curve for the young players, will it be shortened under him?
Well, I definitely think they're going to win more games. I had actually predicted them to win 8 games last year, and they came darn close.
Yeah,
and Wilkes, in my opinion, he got the raw end of the stick with the
Arizona.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
And it just seems that defensive coaches, whenever a team drafts a quarterback, if there isn't success, and black head coaches, I'm just going to throw it out there, they end up getting tossed. And that team goes out and they either stick with an offensive coordinator that's already in place, like what happened with Lovie Smith when he was in Tampa, and they turn the reins over to Cutter, who ultimately got fired himself. But, it's just, like I said, he got the raw end of the stick with the Cardinals, and I think that he's definitely going to be a good fit with the Browns because they're going to be good. Like, I forget who said early one of our on the panel that said that no matter who's there, the Browns are going to be good because that defense is humming. And a second year with what we saw last year, this upcoming season is going to be, in my opinion, they're going to win at least.
Now you heard that, Jay?
At least 10 games.
That's a football player saying that. That's a pro saying that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Herm.
Okay.
Thank you, Herm.
Yes, indeed.
Hold on.
Yes,
Slow down. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all why Brother Richard just went off on that little mini tangent right quick on me. Because off air, he and I have been on the phone. I'm talking about when I get on the phone, I talk to him. We be going so hard at each other. We go hard. We keep each other sharp. I'm telling you. I done been on the phone with him, and my phone the battery died. You know, and I had just charged. It was at 100. But he been saying, real talk, man. He been saying for the Browns, and it's not that I'm not a Browns fan or haven't been, but I'm all about product on the field. You get what I mean? If I don't see it, that's my biggest thing. If I don't see it, then I gotta wait to see it. You know, before I start really saying it's gonna be this or it's gonna be that. But Brother Richard, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. He been, and Herm has too. But Herm, you know, Brother Richard be going hard. I mean, he got that New York flavor. He like, Jay, I'm telling you, man. Mark my words right here. I'm telling you. And he emphasized, I'm telling you, the Browns are going to be. I'm like, man, go ahead on, man. He said, man, I'm telling you, watch what I tell you. so yeah, you know, he been calling it for a while. Up next is Todd Monken, spelled last name spelled Monken. Now, he's only had 3 seasons, but now to me, now Wilkes is important, no question, but Monken, okay, because this is the one, really, to me, this is the most important one, is the special teams coordinator. And we all know special teams was terrible. That's TURRIBLE for the Browns last year. Terrible for the Browns last year. So when it comes to the staff and coordinators and everybody that was hired, that's the one I'm looking at first. I'm looking in that area first. I want to see an improvement in that area ASAP, okay? I don't really have a lot of information on Monken, but he served in 3 seasons. He only served 3, actually, and all were with the Buccaneers. He was, I guess he started off as the offensive coordinator with them in 16 after he was Oklahoma State offensive coordinator. So, you know, from far as I'm concerned, I'm wondering if he was there with Derek Anderson. Didn't Derek Anderson go to Oklahoma State? Oh, that was some years ago. But anyway, he served as the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma State. Okay, so, Gully, I'm throwing this one at you. Out of all the staff folk that have been added, defensive coordinators, special teams, do you agree with me? Is this the area you want to see? You want to see what it's going to do first? I mean, I want to see what the wide receivers do and the defensive backs and all the other positions, but I'm looking at the special teams folks first. What about you?
I'm not, man. I'm not looking at the special teams first.
They missed 18 field goals, man. What are you talking about? And I'm being facetious.
I'm not looking at the special teams first, man. In the end, man, it goes back to the major decision that was made to move the offensive coordinator to head coach. I have a wait and see approach with every other staff member. I'm not going to have a bias. I only see good potential. I only got good things to say about them, especially again the defensive coordinator. It all goes back to the fact that what we saw, the success that we saw, and the potential that we've seen from Baker Mayfield at quarterback throughout the season came in the same situation where you had the now head coach, i.e. former offensive coordinator. He only had to work with that side of the ball. My thing is,
you know what?
You've got a guy now.
Hold your thought. I messed that up. That's my bad. Monken is the offensive coordinator. That's what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he served as a coordinator and a special teams coach and all of that. So he's the offensive coordinator with the Buccaneers. That's my apologies, fella. I read that wrong. I had my notes wrong here. Okay, so let's scrap that. Let's scrap that right quick. We still online here. Let me get to the special teams coordinator. My fault. Mike, and help me out here. Mike Prefer, Priefer. Prefer. Okay, Mike Prefer is the special teams coordinator, and he served as the special teams at the same capacity for the Giants in 03-05. And in 06, he was named special teams coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. For the Chiefs, and he was with the Broncos and the Vikings, and then he, of course, was with lastly. I don't know who wrote this article here that I'm looking at, but we will not be picking from them again. My goodness. But anyways, with the Chiefs, okay. So we said we wanted a special teams coordinator. Mike Prefer or whatnot. Let me ask you, Gully, since we got to switch pages here, do you think based on that he will be good for us? But you're not looking at the special teams, right?
I mean, looking at the staff, I don't really see any I don't really see any notable members where I'm like, I don't get that at all. Even though they're all unknown, you're not relatively unknown, I guess, to common fans or what have you. You don't have big names like a Wade Phillips or a North Turner. You get what I mean? You've got guys that Kitchens is familiar with. The biggest concern is, again, the success we saw with Baker Mayfield came primarily with Kitchens having to worry about just the offense. Can that translate over? Is the staff in place to allow that potential to continue to flourish? I felt like maybe, having the interim coach, if he would have stayed and Kitchens would have stayed where he was as an offensive coordinator, no disrespect to him and a front to upward mobility, I just felt like better success may have been achieved by having Kitchens remain where he was, where we saw the instant success and a potential with Baker Mayfield, which is something that we wanted, or let me say it more accurately, the potential success at a reliable quarterback, which is something the Browns have not had since their return. That's my concern.
Got you. Double J, what do you say?
I'm kind of grateful that he's out of the NFC North. Again, despite it, what I like about Kitchens' moves overall is that, and I think this might be getting ignored because it sounds like, I know you guys are starving for success over there, and he's bringing in guys that have a pedigree of consistency and in some cases excellence. And so when you look at the core of that team and the direction that you guys are going, and again, ultimately these off-season expectations that many of you have, both from fans as well as analysts alike, these, in my opinion, are the right hires that can ultimately win you a game and not lose you a game. And that would have been the difference of the Browns today versus the Browns in the past.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, let's look at, and I don't know, I've never heard of this guy before. Herm, I will start with you on this one as well. Associate head coach and offensive line coach James Carpen, Carpen. You familiar with him, Herm?
I'm not, but I did take a look at him, and he comes from Green Bay, and Green Bay's offensive line has actually been pretty good over the years. So, but no, I mean, name recognition. Quite frankly, there's no way to know whether or not, like today, to say, well, they're going to have success. Whether they were named, we recognize the names, or like in this situation that we don't recognize a lot of the names. I think it's a good thing. And, just kind of going back in the day when I was with the Browns, my first year, no one knew Belichick would turn out to be the coach that he is today. And when you go back and you look at the staff that he had put together back then, some of the names you probably wouldn't have known. But some of the names on that staff were Nick Saban was on that staff.
Right.
My position coach was why am I drawing the blank? Kirk Ferentz, who's the head coach at Iowa. One name that no one probably knows, but he was like a tight end coach. He was working with the tight ends, was Pat Hill. And Pat went on to have pretty good success at Fresno State. So you don't know. But history will prove. So I feel pretty good that he put together the staff that he wanted, not what others wanted.
Got you. And I think that's key, too, because too much of that's been going on in this town from fans. Pressure from fans had our front offices doing stuff they shouldn't have no business doing. But in 9 of Campen's 11 seasons as an O-line coach with the Packers or whatever, I think this is interesting as well. The Packers ranked in the top 10 in the league in scoring, and they finished in the top 10 in total offense in 8 of those 11 seasons that he's been with them in total. So then said highlighted by 3 of the top 4 single-season yardage marks in franchise history. I think that's kind of interesting as well. And it said he helped 6 of the Green Bay's offensive linemen earn Pro Bowl recognition. That was tackle Chad Clifton, center Scott Wells, guard Josh Sitton, center Jeff Saturday, who's pretty good. I know who Jeff Saturday is. Tackle David Bakhtiari and guard T.J. Lang. And it says the only team in the league to have 6 different members of the offensive line selected over that span. Campen has had at least one of his linemen named to the Pro Bowl in 6 of the last 8 seasons, 2010 through 12, 14, and 16. So I think that's very, very interesting because, as we all know, it starts in the trenches. Once you're in the trenches, if you can lock that down on both sides of the ball, then everything else, to me, behind that will be much better as well. Okay, running backs coach and run game coordinator, Stump Mitchell. Now, before we get to everybody, Herm, tell us, what is run game coordinator? What does that mean?
It's an opportunity to get additional people on your staff.
Okay.
I mean, you just come up with different titles.
Yeah.
He's a running backs coach, but it's another way to make more money also. So you give a little bit more responsibility with a different title. I mean, I'm far removed from the NFL, but I don't believe back when I played we had a run game coordinator.
Run game coordinator, yeah, got you. Just like the Gatorade coordinator too, huh? Just sounds fancy. Got
right.
you. Double
Absolutely.
J, yeah. Double J. Are you familiar with Stump Mitchell?
Yeah, to an extent. Again, I think this is a unique way of utilizing these job titles in a manner where that way, again, ultimately an additional asset is the expectations given the nature of the role. I think this is something you're going to want to pay attention to over time, simply because of that, Bermuda Triangle of running backs that are now in that backfield.
Yeah, Bermuda Triangle
and Barbershop J.
Yeah,
Barbershop J. If I might add, he was a heck of a player.
Oh,
you
no
guys
question.
Don't remember something.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember him as a player now for sure. Yeah. He was definitely a heck of a player. Excuse me. The Bermuda Triangle, I would like to call it the trifecta. You mean with Bradley Chubb, of course, and now Kareem Hunt, and my man from the U, Duke Johnson. Yeah. And Herm, I believe you were the one that said, in regards to the running back trio, that the contracts are favorable to the Browns. All the contracts of all 3 are favorable to the Browns. So my question in regards to, we'll mention, because I'm glad you said that, because I brought up another question. Let me go through, finish off here who the staff's names are. Oh, special assistant to the head coach is Jody Wright. He did some stuff on the college level at UAB. He served as the director of player personnel at Alabama from 2015 to 2017. I don't know how significant that is. But, he was the running backs coach at UAB, who for a minute had their football program had, I don't know if you want to use the word or term defunct or whatever, had taken it away. They brought it back. It didn't last long, but they did take it away. I guess that's due to funding and things of that nature for the programs. And the quarterback's coach is Ryan Lindley. I've never heard of this guy. Oh, they say he was a player. He was a player, and he was a 6th-round pick in 2012 by Arizona. Does anybody remember Ryan Lindley? Gully? Brother, we're not going to ask Brother Rich, because Brother Rich, he's going to say, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Yeah. He served as the Arizona's quarterbacks coach from 2013 to 16. And they said he also spent time with the Chargers, Patriots, and Colts. Do you remember him, Herm?
I do not.
I don't. You, Gully, you remember him?
I think I had moved him when I tried to make a trade to get in the draft on Madden NFL 2017, but that was about all I remember.
Yeah. What about you, Double J? You remember him?
Yeah. He was not somebody you wanted on the depth chart other than for a minimum salary. But, otherwise, I'm going to double down on D. Gully's trade bait comment.
Yeah, and then offensive quality control coach Tyler Tellerton. I'm familiar with him because he played quarterback at my alma mater, Ohio University. Although at times when I'm doing this show, it might not sound like I went to college. That's my bad. Senility is real. And then we have offensive quality control. Did I say offensive quality? Whoever wrote this article. They both. Oh, so I guess you can have more than one. That's what it looked like here, because they have another one, offensive quality control coach Jim Dre. Now, I remember Jim Dre was a tight end. Was he a tight end for the Browns? Yeah, he from, I think, that 2014-15 season, he was a tight end
he actually he was a tight end for the Browns. One of them that I do remember, and he actually was pretty decent with the Browns at the tight end spot.
Yeah, they only threw the ball to him 2.5 times a game though. Jurevicious, baby. I know it wasn't that year, but still, that was my boy. And then run game coordinator, that's one of these terms again. Herm said, yeah, they make up titles, so to speak, / linebackers coach Al Holcomb. Now, why have we heard that name before? Let's see here. Al Holcomb. Oh, he was fired 2 weeks ago. Shortly after now, Browns defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, unfortunately, was relieved of his duties as the Cardinals head coach. So he was in Arizona with Steve Wilks. That's why I think I heard that name before. So at the end of the day, and then lastly, we got senior defensive assistant Chris Jones, who on his resume, he was with – oh, you know what? Here's something interesting. This guy in particular spent about, 6 or 7 seasons as a defensive line coach. He was with the CFL's Montreal Alouettes in 2002 and a couple of other years. I can't really make that out here. But they say over the past 18 years, he has coached 5 different teams in the CFL, including the Edmonton Eskimos, the Calgary Stampeders, and the Toronto Argonauts. Wow, that's interesting. He's a 4-time Grey Cup champion. Is that like the Super Bowl, Herm, for Canada?
Yes.
Okay, and they say he compiled a 53-37 record during his time as head coach. He said Edmonton won the Grey Cup under his direction in 2015, and he was named CFL Coach of the Year. And you know what, right quick, and then we got one more here. The pass game coordinator, here goes another one of them terms, and secondary coach Joe Witt Jr. My screen is locking up here. Yeah, Joe Witt Jr. Cornerbacks coach. He was with the Packers, too. So it looks to me like, and then you got defensive line coach Tosh Lupoi. That's Lupoi. Oh, Lord, I'm telling you, I really cannot pronounce these names. I'm glad I'm not Tony Romo. Game day here. And you got tight end coach John Lilly. My gosh, how many people did he add to the staff? Defensive line coach John Perella. That name sounds familiar as well, too.
Yeah, he's a former player. I think he played with Buffalo.
Yeah, and then wide receiver coach Adam Henry. He don't really have much on his resume. Yeah. Oh, he was the wide receivers coach with the Giants in 2016 with Odell. I don't know if there was much as a coach as it was Odell, but Odell had 101 receptions that year for 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. So, yeah, you know what? And the defensive backs coach Dwayne Walker. My gosh, how many coaches are on the staff, Herm? 400?
It's a lot, but I think the common theme you'll see is they cross paths with Kitchens at some point throughout his career.
Yeah.
So he got his people.
Yeah, that's what it looks like here, because assistant offensive line coach Jeff Blasco, and then you got he's the last one on the list. My gosh, it seems like a lot of guys on that list, man. So at the end of the day, let me ask this. And again, we're not asking Brother Richard, not for this time, because he's going to say, go Browns, go Browns. He already done said, too. He don't care who on the staff. He just think the Browns are going places, and I do, too. But let me ask you, Herm, with all this being said, all the new staff, everything is in place. And you said you kind of, I thought I heard you say to some degree you expect the Browns to win more games this year. But here's the question. Can they go from worst to first immediately and do they make the playoffs next year?
Yes, they can go from worst to first.
Absolutely.
They will improve with their record, and they will make the playoffs.
All right, Brother Rich, go ahead, man. I see you over there. You ain't gonna let me. You're not gonna let me
look,
rest. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say this. I'm not talking to Jay right now. Gully, when I come back to Ohio next year for the parade, I'm hanging out with you and Herm, and I just don't want. I'm not letting Jay be around me when we go to the parade. Not this year. This year is when we're gonna show him what's happening next year. But next year when we have the parade, I don't want Jay. He's my man, but I don't want him around us. Okay, when we celebrating, because I've been telling him for years, get on the bandwagon because it's gonna fill up quick. And this season it's gonna fill up so fast, right? But hey, so I'm gonna be the one with the key to the letting people in. You know how they kick the Jay. Barbershop Jay's gonna be like, you know how when they get on the stage with the Phillies team after they won and they had to kick him off. That's how Jay gonna be. I'm gonna be the one controlling that area. And, I'm like, Herm, come on through. Like him, it's stepped off. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's long story short. That's my answer to your question. Yes, sir.
Double J, you hear what I got to go through, right? You see this, right?
Oh, I sure do.
Yeah.
My only request from this is when you guys get the box for the playoff game, don't forget this guy. I'll make the trip count.
No, we definitely want you to come down. If you, matter of fact, I'll let you in. Now that I know you want to be down, you would definitely come in. My main man, he can't go. We still tight. That's gonna be my brother for life, but he just can't come to this event. It's the only event I've been warning him for years. I will not let you in.
Yeah, see how they do me. See, this is what I got to go through. But I'm used to it. I'm used to it because as a Hurricanes fan, as I like to call myself, Hurricane North. You know, I still have to deal with the fact that Ohio State beat us in the national championship when, of course, the flag that came out, that flag didn't come out to people that already got in their cars and was on their way home. So that's still suspect. But anyway, yeah, I'm used to that kind of talk right now. But you know what? Go Browns, yeah. But let me say this, and here's the last thing on the docket. We talk about Chubb, Duke, and Kareem Hunt now. Herman, we go back to you on this one, of course, because I had actually an exchange, not a negative one, it was a pretty good exchange. Me and Ernest Biner. Ernest was on that team with you too, Herman, 94, wasn't he? He came back, right?
Yeah.
With the Washington,
and in Baltimore as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He sure was. He and I went back and forth on Twitter. And I guess he got a book coming out. I can't think of the name of it right now. I was trying to pull it up, but my system is acting up here. But he got a book out, like I think it's called "Don't Fumble" or something like that. Don't quote me on that. You all can maybe check that out if you would. But he was mentioning that he liked the backfield of the trio or whatnot, and the contracts of, like I said, of all three are favorable, of course, to the Browns. But I'm asking, really, how would Kitchens go about utilizing all three? And do we see something unique, sort of like something like when the read option first came into play? Will he do something with these three guys, man, that the NFL has never seen before, and that other teams after it's done, especially if they have success with whatever he comes up with, other teams will want to copy because they do say it's a copycat league or whatnot. But how do you see him using them and, getting them touches or whatnot? Because I told Mr. Biner, I was like, Mr. Biner, I'm loving it, of course, but in order to be compared, because he was saying, hey, they're like the Mac and Biner. Oh, and then there was some video of him and Mac. I said, man, they got to get 1,000 each, before we can start putting them in that conversation. But how do you see them using them, Herm?
I see them easily mirroring what Mac and Biner did. The backfield that comes to mind today is New Orleans, although I don't think they're those type of backs. But I can see Chubbs and Hunt, being the primary two.
Gotcha.
And then, but what you have Duke, his pass catching ability. You can't keep him off the field either, but I think that they're going to push each other. Duke he's not a featured back, so you don't have to worry about satisfying him with the carries, but he's a threat as a receiver. So I just see that I think Kitchens is going to do some things with those guys, and they have the ability to Hunt and Chubbs to each get 1,000-yard rushing, and Duke is going to get his catches. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what he does with them.
I am too, man. I'm not going to even lie to you. I think they could use Duke more so in the slot at times than, in the backfield, maybe certain packages and things of that nature. But the guy got good. That's a credit to the U, of course. The guy got hands, man. You know what I mean? And so many people.
Yep.
They talk about, what a guy can run in the 40. I'm like, yeah, all right, but what good is it if the ball is he left the ball at the 10-yard line? But Duke got hands, man. So I too am interested to see how this new Browns plays out. But the thing about them or any NFL team, once you get that quarterback, man, it just seems to open up the door for everything else to fall in place. Because we couldn't seem to get that, and it just seemed to, like a domino effect, everything else was jacked up behind that. I like this. I got this little saying to folks, when I'm late, I'd rather be a half hour early than a minute late, because if I'm late, whatever else I got to do for that day is going to be late. You know what I mean? And it just seemed like when the Browns couldn't, lock in on that quarterback, that they just couldn't get nothing else together. I like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, too, by the way. We can't leave them guys out because, Myles Garrett, without really any impact from the other side of the defensive line, still had, 13 and a half, 14 sacks or whatnot. What I would like to see the Browns do when it comes to that, I know we're jumping around here, but it just came to mind. When it comes to the defensive line in particular, I'd like to see them do something to similar to what the Giants did, man. When they had, Cofield, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan. Who was the other guy on that? Who was the other guy? Anybody remember who the other guy?
The first one before O.C. Umenyiora?
Was Umenyiora was who on the first Super Bowl? All four of them guys. Wasn't Cofield on that squad? Double J, do you know?
I believe so.
Yeah, they had a four-headed monster, so to speak. You know what I mean? And if you look
You're
out,
talking with Strahan. You talking with Strahan?
Yeah, with Strahan.
Tuck.
Excuse me.
Umenyiora.
Yep.
And I think it was Cofield.
Yeah. But if you look throughout the history of the NFL, whether you saw it or read about it, the one commonality when it comes to defensive lines that were dominant or made had an impact, they have four dudes that could give you the business. We definitely know what the Steelers did with Dwight White and Mean Joe Green and all of them guys. But you even go back to the Rams with Deacon Jones and them. You get you four dogs on the front, and then that allows, like I said, for everything else. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Herm, but that allows for the linebackers to really, read and make the right, to read and react the way they need to. It shores up your back end, helps out your corners and safeties because. If your defensive line, if you can get pressure with them four, like the Eagles did. Hello, when they ran the Philly special or whatnot. Graham and all them guys, man, they was giving them dudes a problem in the Super Bowl. So I too, I'm looking forward to, what the Browns can be. Yeah, what they will be. All right, fellas, that was good stuff. We can ready to get out of here. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here now on the SpreakerRadio.com network. You can go to the search box here as well and type in the Shop Report, or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, the Google Play Music Podcast, which probably will change here shortly. I'm not sure. And, of course, via email, the shopreport365@gmail.com. And if that don't work, you can Google it. For my guests, Herman Arvey, Brother Rich from the NYC, Double J from up north, and D Gully, and all those who follow us on social media, we want to say thank you for your support. I'm Barbershop Jay, and remember, next time y'all want to know what's really going on, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla!